What is going on, Only Playbook fans? We are back. Playoffs are looming large. We're in the thick of it. I am Sweetcar. I got Shashot with me here. Shashot, you had a bye week in our main league. I know you didn't have a bye week in your other leagues. How did those pan out? How are you feeling heading into the semifinals?
Oh man, I took a major, heartbreaking L, dropping 140 points on in a standard league. My opponent ended up with 149.
Jeez.
And as you know, I have the same wide receivers in all my leagues. I got Neighbors, McLaurin in all three leagues, so that really helped boost up the points there because those are, Neighbors is usually not a 20-point kind of guy, but that was nice to see that my reliable players were the ones that kind of let me down. Barkley and Henry, that was supposed to be like my untouchable league, still alive there, but barely. And then I benched Brian Thomas Jr. in one of my leagues for Isaac Garindo. Thankfully, not thankfully, I lost because of that move. So that really screwed me. But
Garindo still had a good game, right? He still didn't have like a bad game.
9.5. But that was the point differential, like 27 versus 9. That could have been it.
The thing that sucks so bad about the playoffs and about like these one and done situations is all year, you can be like, well, next week I've learned from this. Next week I can maybe, start this guy or look at this guy. And you have guys, like you said, Barkley and Henry have been like the two biggest, like the best players, basically best running backs in fantasy football all year, consistent as they come, boom, 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 weeks after boom weeks. And then all it takes is 1 week where it's not even really bust. Yeah. I mean, I guess technically Henry busted, right? But Barkley didn't necessarily even bust, but it just all is for naught. And I feel like that's the hardest part for somebody who does this every year for like the last 20 years is like, it's like people that play in the NFL and they lose in the playoffs. It's like, oh, you got to strap it all back up next year and like start from freaking OTAs and training camp and all that crap, and it's like all that hard work for nothing. So, God, that's frustrating. I guess it could be worse. You could have just not been in the playoffs and not really even had a chance to compete. So, at least you got in. For me, obviously in our main league, it was a different story. I did not make the playoffs. In my other league, I had a first round bye. And so I'm sitting in a pretty okay situation with my roster, but we can dive into it real quick. I want to run through the matchup with you because again, we're in the semifinals. You want to start your studs, but also it's like, if it's 1 week. So it's like, if you mess up, you're done. If you mess up, you're done.
Dude, so I'm making a wild benching my stud decision, which I haven't done all year, but I think I'm going to do it this week. So
jeez. Okay. Yeah. Let's talk through that because I want to real quick. Let's highlight week 15 recap. Some guys went absolutely nuclear real quick. Jared Goff and Josh Allen. Josh Allen has been historic the last several weeks. It seems like he's got the MVP locked up. Another 40+ point performance, 41. And, the other guy who drops 40 is somebody who plays almost the opposite way that Josh Allen does. Jared Goff, all he does is throw the football. And Jared Goff to drop 41 points in a playoff performance. If you started Jared Goff this week somehow, like kudos to you, man. That's an incredible performance. A guy who hasn't been consistent all year, dropping 40+ points in a divisional round playoff game. And then you have 3-4 other studs who dropped 30+. You have Devontae Adams coming onto the scene. Shashot, if I were to tell you right now that both Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson are wide receiver ones in fantasy football right now, does that not blow your freaking mind?
Yeah, it does. It actually makes me even more confused about what the hell happened the last month and a half or so, because that
was the Jets, right? Yeah.
We needed, this was always the plan. This is what we thought was going to happen as soon as he came into the team, but it took some time, I guess.
Yeah, and now I guess maybe they're just super motivated because they're not going to make the playoffs. They're just playing for pride, and you can basically just rack up as many stats, touchdown passes, touchdown receptions as you want. So it seems like that's kind of what they're playing for. Devontae Adams, insane game. Lamar Jackson, another 30+ point game. If maybe Josh Allen's not having this insane season, Lamar's running away with the MVP. So he's having a hell of a year. Mike Evans, another Mr. Consistent King, 30+ point performance. I remember Mike Evans last year had like 5-6 week straights of duds. And then you came into the playoffs and I think he dropped like 30 or something ridiculous like that. So Mike Evans is back. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown also dropping 30 this week. An incredible 14 catches, I believe.
I'm going to get PTSD from that one because I was playing against Danny and Amon-Ra ended up having the greatest game of his life. God.
The Lions are scary, man. Their offense is scary. Aaron Rodgers, obviously Adams drops 30. It means Aaron Rodgers had a good day. He also dropped 30 plus fantasy points. So big winners there. A couple of losers, the Coopers. The Coopers were the losers this week. She showed Amari Cooper, 0 fantasy points. Cooper Kupp, 0 fantasy points. I mean, we gave Jaden Reed hell last week for dropping a goose egg as wide receiver 8. And you have a guy, Amari Cooper, who I think last week had 14 targets, get to go from 14 targets to a goose egg. That is just absolutely unheard of. And then you have Cooper Kupp. I mean, there's not even anything fantasy football players need to know about that guy. That guy's been the epitome of I get targets, I get production every single game. It's guaranteed. And for him to put up a goose egg in the playoffs, I mean, it's really, really unfortunate. I didn't reap any of the negatives from these because I didn't have any of the players, but goddamn, man, if you start Cooper Kupp and he gets you 0 in the playoffs, like you're in that, like, where did I go wrong situation? You know, like there was no real alternative to that. You just got fucked.
I think Ben in our league, in like the losers bracket or whatever, he ended up winning with Cooper Kupp 0. So I guess some things it's just, meant to be and not meant to be. At this, for somebody that's been to the finals so many times, like it's that much more painful when you come this far and you lose. So like, I get it. It happens. And it's just at this point, if you just make it, you make it. If not, you don't. You can't let it get to you. It is what it is.
I think the skill comes into play to make the playoffs. And then, like you said, the playoffs are such a crapshoot because it's like 2 weeks. If you have a bye, it's 2 weeks. Like you could have 2 of the shittiest weeks all season and you lose, right? And so, like you said, I think the skill comes in making the playoffs. And then at that point, it's just complete crapshoot. So Cooper Kupp, and then you wanted to highlight him. And for him, it is a dud. Derrick Henry in a really, really big game, 6.5 fantasy points or something like that. They used Justice Hill a hell of a lot. I don't really know what to make of that. They come into another really tough matchup this week. I have Henry in one of my leagues, so it's going to be really, really pertinent. But those are the real big winners and losers. Were there any other kind of like
Brian
Diamond
Jr.? Let's stop messing around. I messed around. Let that be a lesson. This is auto volume, auto touchdown, auto everything. This man is the whole offense, and they're going to be losing every single game. So it doesn't matter who they're facing. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. He's going to get over 30% of the team's looks, and that's all you need for a player of that caliber.
It's insane, right? I mean, a rookie quarterback being quarterback proof. You have Mac fucking Jones throwing the football, and it does not matter for this man. He is wide receiver 6 on the year. She showed all the hype came into the season with Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Rome Odunze even. And who is the leading rookie wide receiver right now in fantasy points? It is Brian Thomas Jr. sitting at wide receiver 6, 15 weeks into the season. It's incredible. He's got a skill set that really just makes you drool, and like the right quarterback, the right situation. God, this guy seems like he could be a top 5 wide receiver for his entirety of his career. So really, really incredible. Definitely a guy you want to give kudos to. So fantastic. If you started Brian Thomas Jr. this week, you were absolutely ecstatic. So let's dive into it, Shisho. Like I mentioned, I have one single league right now that I'm in the playoffs semifinals matchup. I have a couple of start sits that I just want to run by you and kind of get your thoughts on. So quarterback position for me, I mull this every week. I have Jaden Daniels. He is taking on, I believe, the Philadelphia Eagles this week in a really, really big divisional game. Yeah. Or I have Joe Burrow, who is taking on the Cleveland Browns. The Bengals are desperate for a playoff spot right now. They need to win out and get help. You saw how frustrated Joe Burrow was on the sidelines last week, winning a game, up by 16 points, didn't give a shit. He said they played like absolute ass. They should have scored a lot more points. And quite frankly, they should have. So, we know Jaden Daniels offers the legs, but right now Joe Burrow is playing like a man possessed. Jamar Chase is playing like a man possessed. That offense doesn't seem to be able to be stopped. If you had to start one of those two players, where do you lean and why?
Yeah, you lean Joe Burrow. I mean, it's a full lean. It's not even a question. It's a Philadelphia defense, honestly, more than anything else that I'm afraid of. They just don't allow any wide receiver touchdowns, and that takes me right into my next point that I was going to make. I'm actually benching Terry McLaurin this week after everything he's done. Yeah, I am. That's how afraid of this Philadelphia defense I'm. And I have like reputable people I can start instead of him, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, I'm afraid. I'm looking other options. I'm even thinking Bo Nix over Jaden Daniels in my consolation ladder.
Yeah, I mean, you got to do what you got to do. It sucks because Jaden was such a home run value pick in the draft, 11th round to get you here. But like you said, like there's no emotions involved in this. I need one guy to play the best in 1 week. And right now, Joe Burrow is so possessed that it just seems really, really hard to bench that guy.
And he'll be back next week. You're going to be starting Jaden Daniels against Atlanta next week. So
yeah, as long as I can win the semifinals and I'm in the finals and I got Jaden in the finals against the Falcons. So yes, which I will. Okay. And so my other option, my other real start sit question in that league is I'm running 3 running backs. So I have Derrick Henry, which again, I have to start at Pittsburgh, but doesn't matter. I have Kyron Williams against the Jets, who I'm automatically going to start. Doesn't really matter. And my flex running back is Bucky Irving. He's been fantastic. He's a little hobbled, but he played a lot more than I expected him to this past week. Didn't come away with any serious injuries or re-aggravations. So I'm expecting him to be a full go. And they take on the Dallas Cowboys, who have been so bad on defense. So I expect that to be an advantageous position. But my question to you here lies, I have 2 spots for receivers. I have CeeDee Lamb, who's taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It seems like a must start, even though it is Cooper Rush. And then I have Puka Nacua, who's taking on the Jets. Those 2 seem like must starts, right? But it is week 16. It's the semifinals. So over potentially one of those 2 guys, would you even toy at the idea of starting DJ Moore against the Detroit Lions or Juwan Jennings against the Miami Dolphins?
Okay, Juwan Jennings, no. Okay, no. I'm going to right off the bat, just because of what happened last week. They had every opportunity to make things work. And I think defenses are kind of understanding that something's wrong with Deebo Samuel. They're not worried about him as much. They're not even like he's the one dropping the passes. He could go off anytime, but nobody's worried about him anymore. So focus is more on Juwan Jennings, and you can see how the coverages were shifting towards him, like right off the bat. The linebackers are going towards him to cut off all the close by stuff, which is where he was thriving. He was getting a lot of 10 to 15 targets a game when he was doing his best work at the middle of the ground stuff. And now they're not even worried because I think, it's just Kittle and Juwan Jennings. So that would be my biggest, the easiest, unlikely to start. He could do well, but out of all the players you mentioned so far, I can't bench any of those guys. There's no benching Puka. There's no benching CeeDee Lamb. It's just not possible. And then, Bucky Irving, might not play him this week. But out of everybody you mentioned, I think Jennings has to kind of take a seat, and DJ Moore could do well. But again, the uncertainty there versus all the certainty everywhere else. I mean, you're just gonna have to live with the decision. If DJ Moore gets you 40 points and CeeDee Lamb gets you 12, you can't be hard on yourself over that.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think I would kick myself in the ass more if I started DJ Moore, he got 12, and CeeDee Lamb gets 40 on my bench. That would be unacceptable behavior. So I think it makes a lot of sense there. And the other question I have is I'm still a little bit confused about the tight end position. I have David Njoku currently in my starting slot. Mm-hmm. Dorian Thompson-Robinson's going to start, but Njoku's still hurt. So there's no guarantee that he's even playing this week. Yeah. So I'm in a really kind of a weird situation with the tight end position. If I'm running through who's available in free agency, like just the top of the list, Hunter Henry, Dalton Schultz, Kyle Pitts, Pat Freiermuth, Juwan Johnson, Cole Kmet, or the freaking backup for Stone Smart, the backup to Will Dissly on the Chargers. So it's a little slim. I don't know if you have a lean or if I'm just going to have to wait out for Njoku and hope he plays.
I will have a lean by the end of tonight because I have Cade Otton in all 3 of my leagues, and I was really, really big on him just taking me to the promised land. And, him dropping 4 points last week and many other times earlier over the last month, that is kind of might have been one of the reasons I didn't make the play or make the next round in that league, just being so bullish on Cade Otton. And he plays Dallas this week, who's for the linebacker situation there. You have Eric Kendricks right in the middle, and he's pretty good at coverage. So I am really worried about Cade Otton this week. And so I'm also looking at the tight end waiver system here to see who would make the most sense. And, honestly, I'm leaning the hardest towards Bretton Strange. It's just yeah, dude. Out of all these names, okay, look at these names. Cole Kmet, I can't trust that shit. I can't trust that. I don't know what's gonna happen. Noah Gray, that's banking on a touchdown from Noah Gray. If you're banking on a touchdown from Terry McLaurin, that makes more sense. But banking on a touchdown from Noah Gray, I don't know. And they're playing against Houston, who allow like the bottom 5 points to tight ends. You got Juwan Johnson with a quarterback situation. I have no idea what's gonna happen. Jatavian Sanders against Arizona, who's also got studly linebackers who are not allowing anything. And Grant Calcaterra was my last possible start if he played well this week. didn't do shit. They're just not even worrying about the tight end position anymore, which is a huge change. So I don't like any of these. I think you're just gonna have to roll with just bank on Njoku news later in the week. And if he's like out for sure, or if he's like severely injured but still gonna play, then maybe take him out. But if things get cleared and he's doing his reps in practice, you're just gonna have to bank on him maybe getting a touchdown.
It's really hard not to overlook the 12 targets for Strange last week.
Yeah, it's not. It's hard.
It was all either dump offs to Strange or bombs to to Brian Thomas, and no in between. So they seem to be his two favorite targets. So I might, I guess I could do a lot worse than Brett and Strange in the semifinal. Who do they play this week? Who are they playing this week?
It's an easy matchup. It's Las Vegas, I believe.
Okay.
And they do well with tight ends. They give him a lot of points.
Okay. All right. So that's definitely something to think about for sure. And then I obviously, with my situation at kicker, I'm running out Cade York. He's been awesome since I picked him up for the Bengals. Actually, he hasn't been awesome. 9.6 points. He hasn't been that great, but the Bengals offense is always moving the football. So they're always in situations or positions to take advantage. So he's been okay. And then this week I am going to bench the Denver defense because they are taking on the Chargers. And I don't know what happened. PS2 got hurt. So I don't know if he's going to play.
He's practicing. I think he was like they said if they were to practice today, he would have been a full participant or something. I don't know.
Ooh,
yeah.
Okay.
It's Tuesday, so we got to look at this a little bit more tomorrow and the day after.
Yeah, it's scary because the Broncos are the number one defense. The last 4 weeks, points wise, 13, 10, 20, and 20. So it's a really scary bench here. But the reason I'm possibly benching them is I also picked up the Buffalo Bills defense, and they are taking on the Patriots. And Drake May's been good. Don't get me wrong, but he's been good in context of like he has nobody around him, so he's good, right? Like it's not like they're putting up points. It's not like Buffalo's defense won't take advantage of sacking him or turning the ball over. So that it's like an advantageous pickup. Buffalo's defense has also been trash against good offenses, like negative points, 40 plus points allowed. So it's a really big roller coaster to ride. But right now, I have Buffalo starting over the Denver Broncos defense.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. I like that. I don't think I would do that. But I see where you're coming from. I think I'm just gonna blindly have faith in the Chargers on a short week, just hoping that, in the Broncos that they have to play the Chargers, who are not the most dynamic offense, and they just got whooped so hard, and it's a short week. So I don't know if they have the firepower to scare the Denver Broncos defense. I think I'm going to end up rolling with them, but I have them in a league where I'm already out, so I'm not too strung out about that decision. But yeah, I don't know. I think the Raiders are a good option this week. They do play the Mac Jones led Jaguars. But again, I don't know. The tough one.
So the only thing that has me concerned about the Broncos is with sleeper, our points, yards don't matter, right? So the only way we get points is we need defense to do something, sacks, interceptions, stuff like that. Justin Herbert's pretty good at not turning the ball over. The Chargers love to run the football, right? And the Broncos offense, Bo Nix has been good, but they've also kind of taken a step back. And I think the Chargers defense can do enough to make it kind of a slugfest, if you will. I don't imagine that game being a shootout, right? First and foremost. And I just think that Justin Herbert does a good job not taking sacks. He rarely turns the ball over. And even if they punt 10 times, it's not crazy amount of points for the Denver defense, right? So I'm just looking at it do I have a better chance of getting a pick six from the Buffalo Bills against Mac Jones or against Drake May, possibly even the Raiders against Mac Jones, than I do Justin Herbert running the football 25 times, dumping it off, stuff like that, to where it's disgusting, but the defense doesn't allow a lot of points. So I'm trying to kind of swing for the fences with the defense here in the semifinals and not really play for a floor, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense. You got to do what you got to do. I like both those options, and I think I like where your head's at with that situation too.
Yeah. So that's what I got, man. That's what I got. My only thing that I want to discuss about who I'm playing is I'm playing against a guy who has Jahmyr Gibbs in the best possible situation he's ever been all year. And I am so worried that this man is going to he's going to put up 50 points, and it's just the craziest luck for Jahmyr Gibbs owners in the semifinals to just have him take all the carries. So I'm playing against Jahmyr Gibbs and I'm playing against Josh Jacobs, and they are just absolute dynamite on the ground. And the Packers play the Saints, who are bad. So that's my biggest fear, is I'm going to get run to death. But I have Derrick Henry. I have Kyron Williams, right? On paper, these guys should be able to stand their own ground with that matchup. So time will tell. But those are the biggest fears I have in my matchup. Otherwise, if I win, I'm in the finals and possibly taking on the team that has Josh Allen. So let's hope.
Yeah, I'm just glad in our league. I guess I'll start with our league that we are both in. I am just happy. The happiest thing that happened this weekend was the guy that had Josh Allen got knocked out because
Huge, dude.
that's huge for sure. So, but Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry both face Pittsburgh, which is not the best situation. But I got to play him, right? There's nothing I can do about this. I just have to sit there and see what happens. I'm going to start Garindo against Miami. I'm going to start Malik Neighbors against Atlanta, and I'm going to start AJ Brown against Washington.
Easy.
Easy choices there. My hard choices are I still have Cade Otton out there. I don't have a backup tight end to replace him as of now. I have Bucky Irving in the slot. Just doing the flex situation there with Bucky Irving, but I could throw in Najee Harris against Baltimore, Jaylen Warren against Baltimore. I don't think I've ever started Jaylen Warren, so I don't see that happening today. But Terry McLaurin is, he's playing against the number one pass defense, which is Philadelphia, and he's on my bench. So it's either Terry McLaurin against Philadelphia or Bucky Irving against Dallas. I don't like the Bucky Irving start at this point just because Rachaad White still exists. He doesn't disappear, and it could very well be a luck situation that's gotten, a little bit of luck, a little bit of skill that's gotten Bucky Irving this far. If there was no Rachaad White, boom, auto start, maybe the number one player in fantasy football. Who knows? But right now, Bucky Irving's in the slot and Terry McLaurin's on my bench.
Okay, so it's crazy. It's crazy, right? What is Terry McLaurin? He's definitely a top 10 wide receiver this year. What is he, top 5?
It's number 5.
God, that's insane. So I think Terry McLaurin is going to go. We're going to look back on this year, and Terry McLaurin's going to basically break all of the all of the normal numbers and metrics we use to evaluate players, right? Because he's not getting like the volume that a wide receiver should get. He's not even getting necessarily the targets that a wide receiver should get. But this man catches, how many touchdowns does he have on the year now? Like 12?
It's got 9 or 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
11 touchdowns on the year. I mean, and most of his touchdowns are like 50-yard bombs. So it's like he's getting a touchdown and he's basically producing all of what he needs to for a whole game in one play. Almost like every other game, that's what he's doing, right?
Right.
And that's why I can totally understand why you would be like, you know what, semifinals, matchup dependent, a defense that doesn't give up touchdowns to the wide receiver, which is what Terry McLaurin has truly been doing, is just scoring a shit ton of touchdowns. Yep. I can see where you would want to potentially look at benching him. We talk about it all the time. Like it's always scary starting a player that has produced primarily because of touchdowns, especially in the semifinals. Even a guy that basically scores a touchdown every other week to where you're like, at this point, it should be guaranteed that he's going to do it, right? So if I am you, Malik Neighbors and AJ Brown obviously get the start. I would also start Bucky Irving over Terry McLaurin. I just think even in a split carry situation, the amount of balls that Bucky Irving touches on a per game basis are still higher than the amount of balls Terry McLaurin touches on a per game basis, right? I mean, that's crazy to think about.
It's changed a little bit. I think Terry McLaurin has been wide receiver 1 over the last 3 games because of the volume he's getting now. Even the volume, it's like he's got 8 targets, but all 8 of those were caught. So it's like even that is really like, against the metrics. And then the most recent game, he had 10 targets and he caught 7 of them. And he's, now there's no more, what's his name? Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz is out. So like, who is your target in the end zone now? It's even more Terry McLaurin-ish. So, I'm just expecting a low scoring game, like 17-13 type of situation with both defenses being pretty good. Ultimately, the only thing that could favor me is if like Washington defense has regressed a little bit and AJ Brown just keeps doing AJ Brown things. And then that way McLaurin is forced to kind of, perform. But I at the end of the day, I think I still have a safe floor looking at my opponent where I could be comfortable with like 8 points from Bucky, then getting, 2 points from Terry McLaurin, which is what he got last time he played the Eagles.
Jeez. Okay.
1.5.
Man, God, it's so scary. That's a championship winning decision to make, right? Now, I don't know very many people, if any, that are looking at their lineup this week and being like, Terry McLaurin, wide receiver 5 on the season, I am benching you. Like, there's not. I'm willing to bet that less than 20% of rosters that own Terry McLaurin are benching him this week. So it is definitely ballsy. It's definitely, a classic, you got to be the ones to do it type situation. But man, if you do that and that pays dividends, I mean, that's kind of what you play for. That's what you listen to this podcast for, is to get insight like that you probably would not get. I don't know that Matthew Berry is telling you to bench Terry McLaurin. I don't know that Field Yates is telling you to bench Terry McLaurin. I don't even know that Shoshot's telling you to bench Terry McLaurin. But given the context of the situation, it totally makes sense, because you're replacing him with somebody who has the ability to get volume to outperform him. So, man, that's semifinals. A guy that's basically carried you all the way to where you've gotten.
Seriously,
that's super ballsy.
I am facing players like, he doesn't have a replacement for Pollard or Montgomery. So that gives me a lot of hope. He has Keenan Allen. Sure. Go ahead. Take your 15 points, Keenan Allen. That's fine. But I'm not really afraid of him. There's still DJ Moore there. There's still Swift that can get in the end zone. A lot of things can happen. A lot of mouths to feed. So we'll just see. We'll see what happens. He's going to have to pull off some crazy stuff here to really take this game. But just going to have to hope for status quo from everybody else on my team.
You're facing who this week? Riaz?
Riaz.
Okay.
Which is what I'm praying for.
And he's got Gibbs, right?
Yeah, he's got Gibbs.
Okay. So you and I are both on, we need Gibbs to just somehow, some way not be Gibbs when he's getting all of the carries. Somehow Craig Reynolds needs to just have the game of his life. So we can try to bank on that. So okay. So you're in a great situation. You had the bye. You're the number 1 seed. You're taking on that matchup. Your roster's pretty set. What about you have another league that you're still in the playoffs?
Yeah. My other IDP league, I'm facing Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, Chase Brown, Higgins. And then the other players I'm not too worried about, like Jaden Reed. I'd actually told this guy to bench Jaden Reed when he scored the 2 touchdowns, and he gave me so much shit for it. And then the next game, he got 0 points. So, karma in some sense. And then the other players he's got Pollard here too, which I don't think he's going to play. And I hope he plays, actually, because he's not ready to play. And I'm facing Noah Gray, and then the best player he's got is Fairbairn, pretty much, like at this point, because of the consistency. He's got solid defensive players who are all in the top 10. So, and then on my end, it's the same team. I got Neighbors, McLaurin, got Derrick Henry, got K-Dot. It's the same team. And then Rachaad White is on this side versus the other side. And then I have Bo Nix as my quarterback, Barkley as the other running back, and then Bass as my kicker, and then a bunch of IDP guys. So, nothing crazy, but this is, if everything goes status quo, I'm projected 120 points. He's projected 118 points. So should be a shootout.
Without hearing the IDP players, offensively, your team sounds better. So, but you know how much that means absolutely nothing. So,
but the backups here, okay. So instead of Bo Nix against the Chargers, what about Anthony Richardson against Tennessee as a possible option? That could be a reasonable start. I still have Zach Charbonnet, right? In case Walker's not good to go, I'm benching Derrick Henry. I will.
Wow.
I will bench him. I will. He didn't do well enough last week to get this opportunity. If something happens and Zach Charbonnet starting, I am benching Derrick Henry, even though Zach Charbonnet is facing Minnesota. And then I have Jordan Addison on the bench. That's just it's emergency start if something happens to McLaurin or Neighbors. And I don't think he's better than McLaurin, even after everything we talked about McLaurin in the other league. I don't feel comfortable starting Addison's 8 targets versus what I don't know what McLaurin could do, but I have enough power here to not worry about the McLaurin situation too much. And then George Pickens. So, but I'm not going to start him. There's just can't trust that.
And they play Eagles, right? Yeah. No, the Ravens. They play the Ravens. Okay. Ooh, but the Ravens pass is pretty bad. The Ravens pass is awful.
His hamstring sucks.
Oh, yeah.
Trust that.
What I was gonna say is Derrick Henry is such a freaking enigma this year, because if you just look at his game log, what running back do you know is running back 2 on the season, and the guy barely plays over 55 or 60% of the snaps on any given week. On any given week,
man, it's just Lamar Jackson. That's just there's too many eyes looking at Lamar Jackson to worry about Derrick Henry, which is crazy that situation arises, but it's here.
Yeah, that's absolutely nuts. He's another guy that this year just seems to be breaking the fantasy football system. So
definitely don't draft him next year.
Yeah, that'd be scary. No, I mean it sounds like you have your lineups pretty much locked down, barring like last minute injury changes. barring last minute. I'm not going to lie to you. The Anthony Richardson start over Bo Nix really, really intrigues me. Tennessee.
Dude, yes. If something happens, weatherly, I mean, it is LA, so nothing's gonna happen weatherly. Yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things, like Bo Nix is projected less points than Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson can definitely move around with the legs, but Bo Nix is no longer moving around with his legs, so his floor is gone. But I value him as a passer a little bit more now. I'm starting to like build this trust with him, just putting him up in the lineup now. So I don't know. All right, we'll have to make that decision Thursday night, just seeing how things go.
Yeah. No, I mean, we're finally here. It's the semifinals. That's what we played all year for. So if you're here with us, congratulations. If you're not, I mean, hopefully you play for something in your consolation bracket. Nobody wants to be the last place player in your league. So hopefully you're still setting your lineup, still, making changes, doing that kind of stuff. Before we end it, we want to real quick run through waiver wire. Again, it's semifinal week. So the chances of you streaming a quarterback, picking up a rando receiver, anything like that, very, very rare that you're going to do that. The positions right now that you could potentially be looking at changing: tight end, defense, kicker, and there are a couple of running backs that have played themselves, not played, but the injuries have played themselves into a situation where they do warrant a pickup this week and even a potential start. And the first one I think is Browns running back Jerome Ford. Nick Chubb hurt. Did they confirm he's out for season?
Oh, he's done. He's not playing.
He's done, right? Yeah. He might never play football. He might never play football again, but he is out for this week for sure. Jerome Ford has been a beast, at least at catching passes. Now, keep in mind, it's not Winston anymore. It's Dorian Thompson-Robinson, though. So everything you thought you knew about the Browns offense, you're going to go into this week like completely kind of in the dark, right? All the Jerry Jeudy awesomeness. We don't know what that's going to look like. So that means we don't know what Jerome Ford's going to look like. But the reality of what we know is he has been their starting running back in the past. He is a capable pass catcher. They don't really have much else. So that with him, you're going to get volume and you're going to get work. And I forget who the Browns play this week. It's a pretty tough matchup, right? Cincinnati. Oh my God. So it's tough on the other way. So for the Browns, it's an amazing matchup. I think Ford would be a smash play this week if you pick him up and you manage to get him through waivers. Jerome Ford is the first one. Second one is Kendre Miller. This one is a little bit more iffy. I don't know the status on Alvin Kamara. He was hurt. He was a little hobbled. Kendre Miller's finally healthy. We've been talking about him for 3 years and he's never gotten to fully play. But when he plays, he looks good. This is a week that the Saints are basically not playing for anything anymore. Are they mathematically eliminated from the playoffs now? I don't even know.
I don't think so.
Well, their division is pretty close, so maybe they're not. But they have Jake Haener at quarterback, so I just don't imagine, or even Rattler. Rattler came in. So I don't imagine that the reality is they could try to win, but there's really nothing to play for long term. I could see Kendre Miller getting a little bit more work. Alvin Kamara, old, going into next year, especially even if, like, let's say you manage to survive this year and you have Kendre Miller on your bench. Next week, meaningless week. Let's say Kamara shut down for the season. Kendre Miller automatically becomes really, really important in a championship week. And then the last one you mentioned earlier, Tajay Spears, Tony Pollard, you mentioned it. You're in spats with that guy in 2 different leagues. So you yourself probably need to be going out there and grabbing Tajay Spears. 100%. So your opponent has no chance in the world to get this guy in case Tony Pollard doesn't play. Those are the 3 running backs that I feel like are in a situation where either the starter is already hurt and for sure not playing, or there is a chance that the starter is not playing because they are already hurt. So those are 3 players that you definitely need to keep an eye out on. Definitely pick up. You're playing defense as well as offense this week, right? Like if your lineup is set and your opponent's lineup isn't quite set, you still need to be grabbing these players so your lineup or your opponent 100%. Can't play them. Any other waiver, any other players that we need to mention that you've run through or been like, hey, this is sneaky or potential?
Sneaky. Harrison Butker is back. He missed a field goal this week, which I think just opens up the floor a little bit more. And they have a pretty easy, they play Houston this week. So I think they're going to move the ball quite a bit, but they won't be able to score. So I think that's a really sneaky play for the week. I think Harrison Butker should be picked up and put on your lineup if you're still debating kickers.
Yeah. Okay. No, that sounds good. That's all we have really, guys. So you made it here this far with the roster, with the process, with everything that you did, all of the work that you put in. And now it's 2 weeks and you're taking home the championship trophy. Good luck to everybody that is in the semifinals. Stick to what's gotten you here. Don't try to change things up last minute. Don't be that guy, because you're gonna really, really kill yourself all off season and look back at what if. So if you're watching, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. It helps spread the word. Listen to us anywhere you want to listen to podcasts, socials, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at The Only Playbook. I'm Sweetcard. That's my Twitter. That's Shishot. That's his Twitter. Again, good luck, everyone. Good luck, Shishot, in our home league. Good luck, Shishot, in the other league. Good luck, me, in the other league. Good luck, anybody else that's listening that's still in the playoffs. Let's all secure championships and have an awesome, happy offseason this year. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. See you guys.